Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And I am Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We are your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get the one that we know of, so you'd better make the most of
it. Dearest co-uncles.
Hello.
Howdy do.
Howdy do to you two that do the voodoo that you do. I am so excited. We are at episode 151, and I don't know if you know this, but that is a 5 bracketed by 1s.
Woo!
How about that?
Pretty
Amazing.
sexy.
Yeah. When you start seeing the meaning in all those sorts of things, you know what I'm saying? Then you're a crazy person. So
yeah, exactly.
And we will demonstrate today that we are crazy persons, and we have a fun show. I am going to talk about. I'm going to ruin your picnic.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
And then I am going to talk about the fact that sometimes things can possibly go wrong.
especially trying to say the word possible as possibly.
Yes.
Yes.
And I am going to take several steps toward my own recovery.
Well, but yeah, there's so many more to go. And just want to say thank you so much to everyone who pitched in and bought one of Shabu's amazing shirts, our buddy in Uganda that we're trying to help out. I'm just going to shake that tree one more time, then we won't bother you with it again. So you can go to the Heretic on our website. He took our design, made a couple shirts with his spin on it. He's a good guy and a listener and a fellow heretic in a bad way in Uganda. And if you can help him out, great. And thank you so much to everybody who has. And
you get a shirt out of the deal.
Yeah.
So
you get a fucking shirt out of it. He gets
how does that go wrong?
Yep.
He gets a few 100,000 Ugandan shillings. The exchange rate is alarming.
Yep. 100% of the proceeds go to him, and we will leave the shirts up indefinitely. And any shirt that gets purchased from now until the second coming, we will send that money on to him.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing the accounting for that, so I have some confidence that he'll actually get it.
Well, we'll see. There's many a slip twixt a cup and a lip between here and Uganda. So, and that's it. So let's make a cool show.
Let's do it.
Woohoo!
Uncle Dan.
Hello.
We are supposed, as is enshrined in song, to have sympathy for a particular character.
Oh, okay.
Charlie Brown, I think.
I was thinking of a different character and a different band.
I love the sad Charlie Brown music, especially when they put it over George Michael walking home after the girl breaks up with him.
Oh yeah, after Anne breaks up with him.
Egg.
But Uncle Mark, I think you're going to talk to us about another subject of sympathy, perhaps.
I don't know if we want to be too sympathetic, but let me get there. So, did you guys know there is a fascinating connection between the god of an obscure Philistine city, a guy falling through some lattice, Mark Twain, and a hot-tempered late 1980s RV salesman, thus proving the Bible is relevant to our everyday lives?
I did know that, yes.
Well,
I'm trying so hard to get ahead of this.
Well, there isn't, and it's not. But let's go ahead and try to make that connection anyway.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys remember this. I tweeted out the video a few days ago for people to get some much-needed laughs in this supremely unfunny time. But it's an old VHS cut of a very frustrated man trying to make TV commercials for his Winnebago dealership, having
Winnebago
a really
Man.
bad day. Yeah. The video, called simply Winnebago Man, ended up going viral and spawning a documentary of the same name when the filmmakers tracked down the guy, Jack Rebney, in 2009. I'll include the original video in the show notes for anyone who hasn't seen it. Watching a man's entire being come unspooled inside a boiling hot RV is a joy to behold. But part of Winnebago Man's frustration on his very bad, no-good shoot day was the tendency of flies to find his wares appealing. They kept landing on his Winnebagos, prompting the following declaratives, and I quote him here. "We got flies all over the fucking place," and "son of a bitch, get out of here, you fucking flies," and There's a fly over the headlight, Tony. And we got 3 flies. We got 5 flies. And finally, speaking directly to the bedeviling insects again, get out of here, you goddamn jackasses. But the tightly wound RV salesman is hardly the first person to be aggravated by the presence of these vexing insects. Mark Twain ruminated on the creator of all things bright and beautiful also creating such a dastardly pestilential beast, and in fact saw the common fly as a condemnation of God himself. In his short essay, Thoughts of God, he speaks of the fly thusly. You guys have probably read this. If we can imagine such a man, that is the man that could invent the fly, and send him out on his mission and furnish him with his orders, depart into the uttermost corners of the earth and diligently do your appointed work. Persecute the sick child, settle upon its eyes, its face, its hands, and gnaw and pester and sting. Worry and fret and madden the worn and tired mother who watches by the child, and who humbly prays for mercy and relief with the pathetic faith of the deceived and the unteachable. Settle upon the soldier's festering wounds in the field and hospital, and drive him frantic while he also prays, and between time curses, with none to listen but you, fly, who get all the petting and all the protection without even praying for it. Harry and persecute the forlorn and forsaken wretch who is perishing of the plague, and in his terror and despair praying. Bite, sting, feed upon his ulcers, dabble your feet in his rotten blood, gum them thick with plague germs. Feet cunningly designed and perfected for this function ages ago in the beginning. Carry this freight to 100 tables, among the just and the unjust, the high and the low, and walk over the food and gown it with filth and death. Visit all, allow no man a peace until he get it in the grave. Visit and afflict the hard-worked and unoffending horse, mule, ox, ass, pester the patient cow, and all the kindly animals that labor without fair reward here and perish without hope of it hereafter. Spare no creature, wild or tame, but wheresoever you find one, make his life a misery. Treat him as the innocent deserve, and so please me and increase my glory, who made the fly.
Okay, show off.
Wow.
Samuel Clemens certainly paints a picture there, no?
I just feel like if I had known that we were allowed to spend 22 minutes just quoting from other people's writing, I would have.
You're onto my
job
shtick.
Would be easier.
You're onto my shtick. It was a common belief in early Near Eastern cultures. Sorry, that's a tongue twister for me. That all of the birds of the air and the beasts of the fields and the fishes of the sea were made by God, or the gods, if you were of the polytheist stripe. But the fly, singularly among beasts, was made by the devil. And it was also a common belief that they sprang spontaneously from dead flesh.
Right.
And of course, this belief in a malevolent creating force behind this winged pestilence would require an intelligence and intent of impressive rank and being, would it not? And it was that high-ranking evil being that William Golding imagined when he wrote his 1954 dystopia about a society of boys going wildly off the rails into violence and madness called Lord of the Flies. Mm-hmm. And Golding was referring directly to that creature from antiquity, and his name is Beelzebub.
Ooh!
That's right. This silly name that at least I thought was just a nickname made up by my grandparents' generation for the devil does indeed mean Lord of the Flies. As we discussed in episode 9, Baal simply means Lord, and that seems to have become the root of Beel, and Zebub means fly or flies.
And honestly, it's nice because it's got that sort of onomatopoetic sort of thing going on. It's perfect.
Oddly enough,
it's got that fly thing.
Yeah.
King of the Flies. So the name likely came from the Philistine name for the god of the town of Ekron, east of Jerusalem. At the center of this report... It is at the center, of this report on a household mishap from the book of 2 Kings. I don't remember this. After Ahab's death, Moab rebelled against Israel. Now Ahaziah had fallen through the lattice of his upper room in Samaria and injured himself. So he sent the messengers, saying to them, "Go and consult Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, to see if I will recover from this injury." But the angel of the Lord said to Elijah the Tishbite, Go up and meet the messengers of the king of Samaria and ask them, is it because there is no God in Israel that you are going off to consult Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Therefore, this is what the Lord says, you will not leave the bed you are lying in, you will certainly die. So Elijah went. Little side note, this is again the God of the Old Testament, or the God of the Bible, admitting there are other gods, right?
Right.
So when the messengers returned to the king, he asked them, why have you come back? They said, a man came to meet us, and he said unto us, go back to the king who sent you and tell him this, that you're going to die in the fucking bed, blah, 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 blah. There's just so much repetition. The king asked them, what kind of man was it who came to meet you and told you this? They replied, he had a garment of hair and a leather belt around his waist. The king said, that was Elijah the Tishbite. Like, how unusual was that outfit? So then he sent to Elijah a captain with his company of 50 men. The captain went up to Elijah, who was sitting on the top of a hill, as Elijah did, and said to him, man of God, the king says, come down. Elijah answered the captain, if I am a man of God, may fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50 men. And fire did come down from heaven and consume him and his men.
Great.
At this,
what a
the king,
good story. What a delightful story.
It's such a great story. And it's typical of lattice accidents, right?
And then fire came down from heaven and killed all the 50 men. Good night, sweetheart.
Yeah. Well, but there's more. And then so the king sent Elijah another captain with his 50 men. The captain said to him, man of God, this is what the king says, come down at once. If I am a man of God, Elijah replied, may fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50 men. And it did. So the king sent a third captain, you'll never believe. The third captain went up and fell on his knees before Elijah and said, man of God, please have respect for my life and the lives of these 50 men, your servant. See, fire has fallen from heaven and consumed the first two captains and their men. Like, Elijah didn't see that happen.
Right.
So the angel of the Lord said to Elijah, go down with him, don't be afraid of him. So Elijah got up, went down to the king. Luckily the men were spared.
Wait a minute. The angel said to Elijah, don't be afraid of this guy?
I don't fucking know.
You've just killed 102 people.
Yeah.
Now you're supposed to be afraid of this. Fine. Okay.
Yeah. At least the third captain was like, oh, shit. So he told the king, this is what the Lord says. Is it because there is no God in Israel for you to consult that you have sent messengers to consult Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Because you have done this, you will never leave the bed you are lying on. You will certainly die. So he died, according to the word of Elijah the Lord. Elijah and the Lord had spoken. Moral of the story. You never put lattice in your upper room, dummies. It's not up to code at that height.
No.
Later, Beelzebub also appears in the New Testament in Mark, when Jesus drives Beelzebub out of someone. And then there's another famous story we'll get to in a second. His name also appears in Matthew and Luke. In many traditions, it appears Beelzebub is interchangeable with Satan or Lucifer, all names for the same silly character that is red and scaly with a bifurcated tail, and he carries a hay fork.
Exactly.
Medieval demonologists, not the hobbying sort of demonologists that your uncles are here, but real people who studied the very real demons that haunted the dark of the medieval Christian night, concluded he was a separate being from Lucifer or Satan. The 1409 English tract Lantern of Light said Beelzebub was the prince of hell, identified with the second of the seven deadly sins, envy. We did an excellent examination of the seven deadly sins in episode 67 if you want more info about that garbage. Whereas in 1589, Peter Binsfield, of course, agreed he was a prince of hell, but insisted he was identified with the fifth of the seven deadly sins, gluttony.
Okay.
It's kind of an East Coast, West Coast thing going on here, I think. So,
and he's, to be clear, he's a prince of hell, not the king of hell.
He is not the king of hell.
Whoever that is.
Except that some modern, like a lot of modern Christians are just like, yeah, it's just another name for the devil.
Right.
In 1613, Sebastian Michaelis wrote in his demonological treatise called Admirable History that the org chart of the managerial staff of hell was explained to him by the demon Berith during the exorcism of a nun.
Oh, wow.
Berith told him that Beelzebub was just below Lucifer, the king of hell, and that he, with Lucifer and the demon Leviathan, are sort of a sulfuric trinity.
Oh.
John Milton agreed with this otherworldly org chart in his 1667 blockbuster epic poem, Paradise Lost, where the obsequious Beelzebub plays a slithering Mr. Smithers to Lucifer's Mr. Burns. But the 14th century book of Abramelin demotes Beelzebub to one of 8 sub-princes under the 4 main princes of hell, Lucifer, Leviathan, Satan, and Belial. So that sucks for him. And there are plenty of more grimoires and dictionaires infernal with other opinions, but who really gives a shit? But other than vexing a poor Winnebago man and giving Mark Twain some grist for his sharp-tongued mill, what harm has Beelzebub ever done? Well, for something that isn't real, he's done plenty. Here's just a couple examples. Just a short while back in episode 139, we talked about the framing, torture, and murder of unconventional French priest Father Urban Grandier. His murderers and enemies felt justified in their fraudulent crime when a large black fly buzzed around the condemned's head when he was tied to the stake, feeling assured it was the Lord of the Flies himself, Beelzebub, coming to claim his prize. Father Grandier was far from the only, quote, witch that went to their death attended by charges of familiarity with the non-existent insect god Beelzebub. In the Massachusetts colony in 1692, the goodly folk went a bit fucking berserk, and 25 total people, mostly women and girls, died by hanging or in prison because they had the bad luck of being born into a community of religious fanatics driven half mad with superstitious terror.
Right.
One of the architects of this early American satanic panic was Increase Mather's little boy, Cotton. That was his dad's real name.
Increase. Yeah. I love that.
I think we've talked about the Mathers before on this show.
I think so.
I don't know if we have. We have not directly done the Salem witch trials yet. Maybe
we haven't done that. That's true.
Maybe we'll save that for our October
Halloween episode.
It's a spooktacular.
So this puritanical minister and bewigged drama queen, Cotton Mather, became an architect of the Salem witch trials and was happy to see them concluded with such a terrible body count. After the trials, he wrote a pamphlet that is a spittle-flecked 3,000-word run-on sentence called Beelzebub and His Plot, justifying, nay, celebrating the trials. And since, like I said, this old queen is one of the drama variety, I'm going to read the entire pamphlet now. No, a couple excerpts. But here's a couple just crazy things from it. I wouldn't even know how to do an accent from that time, so I'm not going to bother.
Just think Pepperidge Farm. Just
a total Yankee.
Pepperidge Farm has not been thought about since this thing began.
I have not thought about Pepperidge Farm since our family got kicked out of there, and that's a truth. We cleaned out the sample bins. It was such garbage. So, anyway, back to Increase and his son Cotton. Here's his pamphlet. They are such a discipline as legions used to be. Hence, we read about the prince of the power of the air. Our air has a power? Or an army of devils in high places in it? And these devils have a prince over them, who is king over the children of pride. 'Tis probable that the devil, who was the ringleader of that mutinous and rebellious crew which first shook off the authority of God, is now the general of those hellish armies. Our Lord that conquered him has told us the name of him. 'Tis Beelzebub. 'Tis he that is the devil, and the rest are his angels or his soldiers. Little while later, he's got this crazy nugget. Thirdly, 'tis to be supposed that some devils are more peculiarly commissioned and perhaps qualified for some countries, while others for others. This is intimated when in Mark 5:10, the devils besought our Lord much, that he would not send them away out of the country. P.S. That's the horrible story of the Gadarene swine, which we covered in episode 91.
Right.
Why was that? But in all probability, because these devils were more able to do the works of the devil in such a country than in another. It is not likely that every devil does know every language, or that every devil can do every mischief. 'Tis possible. 'Tis possible that the experience, or may I call it so, the education of all devils is not alike, and that there may be some difference in their abilities. If one might make an inference from what the devils do to what they are, one cannot forbear dreaming that there are degrees of devils. One certainly can't forbear that, right, guys?
No, I would never dream of forbearing that.
Accordingly, why may not some devils be more accomplished for what is to be done in such and such places? when others must be detached for other territories. Each devil, as he sees his advantage, cries out, "Let me be in this country rather than another. But enough, if not too much, of these things." So it's kind of like a Mormon kid getting a mission call, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
Beelzebub, you go to Samarkand. Asmodeus, you're off to the Belgian Congo. And Beelzebub, you get to make some girls in Massachusetts roll around on the floor.
Oh, my God.
I
dumb.
love that.
And here he finishes. "'Tis the destroyer or the devil that scatters plagues about the world, pestilential and contagious diseases. 'Tis the devil who does ofttimes invade us with them. 'Tis no uneasy thing for the devil to impregnate the air about us with such malignant salts, as meeting it with the salt of our microcosm shall immediately cast us into that fermentation and putrefaction which will utterly dissolve all the vital ties within us, even as an aquafortis made with a conjunction of nitre and vitriol corrodes what it seizes upon. And when the devil has raised those arsenical fumes, which become venomous quivers full of terrible arrows, how easily can he shoot the deleterious miasms into those juices or bowels of men's bodies, which will soon inflame them with a mortal fire."
You know,
Did he also write in English?
Okay, girl. So
I'm almost certain that I've sat next to this guy on a plane.
So drama much. But joking aside, this loony was one of the leading lights of his community.
Yeah.
He was highly respected and an elder statesman. His absolute belief in this balderdash got 25 residents of Salem killed, as well as another innocent woman, Goody Glover, murdered after a separate trial. So Beelzebub still haunts the fevered dreams of believers out there who have driver's licenses and mortgages and who are allowed to vote, making him more stupidly real than just a throwaway line in a Bohemian Rhapsody. The Catholic Church, among others, still have exorcists on its payroll who try to cast to this day, try to cast Beelzebub out of sick and disabled and disturbed people all over the place. And just to wrap up, it's pretty fascinating. You guys have probably done this when you looked into some demon-y things. When you start to Google Beelzebub and demons and demonology, and then you look at the crazy images of medieval woodcuts and like Dürer engravings and Bosch paintings, you begin to grasp how terrified and disgusted the Christians and their predecessors were with nature. You know, like many versions of Beelzebub, where he's a devilish fly or made of bits of one, devils and demons are always kind of these pastiches of fins and scales and wings and tails and sharp teeth and claws. So all I can assume is that people who knew very little about how the natural world worked found it a nightmarish hellscape of mysterious forces and venomous monsters.
Yeah.
So
Wait, what do you think?
Well, I'd just say it's a good thing that attitude no longer prevails today, right? Because the Christian attitude towards nature is, yes, more please.
Right.
So I guess the moral of the story is, if you fall through an upper story lattice, don't ask your guys 2 towns over to take the Winnebago 2 towns over to ask the insect god if you're going to be okay. Or 102 of your guys might get incinerated, and you're going to die. P.S. Jesus loves you. In the name of Beelzebub, amen. So that's Beelzebub.
Amen. Yeah.
Where's Beelzebub?
That's
I didn't.
Lord of the
I
Flies.
had always assumed he was just it was another word for the same turd. But
Yeah.
right.
Well, you learn something new.
Yeah, there's some of the grimoires and the kind of classifications of the employment of hell that have like 250 different names. And they all have a job. There's one guy that looks like an anthropomorphic donkey with a peacock tail named Adremelech, and his job is looking after the wardrobe of Satan.
Oh,
Yeah, so
gotta keep him looking spiffy.
yeah, so there's fussy gay demons as well. I love it.
Love
I'm
it.
here for it. So here's to the fussy gay demons.
Yes,
Indeed.
indeed.
Well, let's move on.
Yeah.
Hey, Uncle Mark.
Yeah.
You know who sucks?
It's like, hold on, let me open the spreadsheet. Who are we adding?
The answer is us. We all suck so
Well,
bad.
that's a given.
Yeah.
Who's got 6 thumbs and sucks real hard?
These guys.
Yeah.
But of us, I think one of us sucks the most, at least for right now.
Well, I'll let you two fight that out. Yeah.
Uncle Doug, I understand you have some unsucking to do.
I got some work to do. Let us bask in the glow of the derp that is mine. Well, dear uncles, I know that our listeners tune into this show to hear their infallible audio uncles dispense pearls of wisdom from high atop our ivory towers. But I think after 151 episodes, it's time we let our listeners in on a little secret. We don't live in a tower. So, moving on.
I live in a townhouse.
I mean, yeah, 2 of us live in townhouses.
That's right.
I feel like maybe, I don't know.
I think Doug is having third story envy. But go on.
All right, from our ivory townhouses. But from time to time, your uncles make mistakes. It's just a fact of the matter. Whether it's Uncle Mark claiming that he never beat me up as a kid, or Uncle Dan claiming that he didn't enjoy dressing in drag.
No, I said I never didn't beat you up as a kid.
And I must admit that from time to time, even your Uncle Doug can get things wrong. Such was the case in a couple of my most recent segments, or recent segments, from earlier this year. And so today, in our version of Stump the Chump, for any Car Talk listeners out there, I'm going to swallow my pride, man up, and face the music by desperately trying to justify my mistakes. So, here we go. Now, I have said loudly and often that if I get a fact wrong, mispronounce a name, or other some such error, that instead of writing to correct me, I would appreciate if everyone went to Wikipedia and changed the facts to match my statements. However, it appears that's what you're supposed to do.
They did it after Sarah Palin made up her own Paul Revere story.
That's right. Ringing them bells and shooting them guns.
Yeah.
Now, it appears that 2 listeners did not get the message and sent me lists of what I did wrong. So let's look into these 2 possible areas of mistakes. The first of these was in reference to my segment on the Shroud of Turin back in episode 132. Listener Andrea Nicolodi wrote me a list of 7 corrections, to which I just have to ask, Andrea Nicolodi, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah, who the fuck do you think you are?
What are you, some kind of expert in the field? Did you literally write the book on the Shroud of Turin? Well, I got a little less petulant when I saw where Andrea Nicolodi was writing from, 1 Turin, Italy. It turns out that Andrea Nicolodi is Professor of History of Christianity and Churches Andrea Nicolodi at the University of Turin.
Yes.
Whose specialty is the Shroud of Turin. He's not only one of the world's preeminent scholars on the Shroud, but has quite literally written the book on the Shroud of Turin. I am holding it right now.
And wasn't he called? Isn't he called the greatest enemy of the Shroud?
Yeah, he's this. Where did you read that?
Where did
Someone there? Yeah, we were bouncing back and forth when he first wrote to us.
In his emails, he said, "I'm actually called the biggest enemy of." And he said he can, when he opens his window, he can hear the bells of the church it's in. Okay, fuck you, expert.
So,
which Uncle Doug, that makes you enemy number 2.
That's right. That's awesome. So, he's literally, I have the book in hand now, and one of the reasons it's taken me so long to issue these corrections is that I wanted to get and read the book before doing so. It's only recently published and then only recently translated into English. Professor Nicolodi, by the way, speaks English quite well, but obviously for a work of scholarly, import like this, it requires quite a heavy-duty translation. So
and then it loses all the poetry. It's very sad.
Yeah.
So the book itself,
I read it in the original Italian. I didn't understand any of it, but I read it.
I read it in Arabic, which is weird because I can't read or speak Arabic. So
Right.
I found it kind of a dull read.
well, the book itself, The Shroud of Turin: The History and Legends of the World's Most Famous Relic, is a nearly 500-page, heavily footnoted history of this strange object.
Oh my God, 500 pages.
500, and it's actually a great read. There is so much more to the story, and in a lot of ways it reads like a Dan Brown novel, except, good. So I definitely recommend it, and I told Professor Nicolodi that I would give him a shout-out for him in the book, so there you go.
But I'll tell you what, because I read those emails too, Doug.
Yeah.
He was incredibly nice about it.
Oh, he's such a sweetheart.
It's such a sweetheart. And he said, you know what? It was a super entertaining bit, and I enjoyed listening to it. I just happened to know you got a few things wrong because this is my life's work.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was cool.
It was cute. It sounds like he has a Google alert for anything that mentions the Shroud of Turin, which is probably how he found our show. Well, it's how he found the show.
Yeah.
I think he was a fan from the beginning.
He was so gracious, and we corresponded back and forth a couple times. And this was back when Italy was in the full throes of the coronavirus in April. Remember those halcyon days?
Yeah.
So
Remember when Italy was the stupid country?
yes,
Right.
exactly. So let's look at Professor Nicolodi's 7 corrections and see if this is all as bad as it sounds. So first, in the segment I talked about the risen Jesus wrapped up like a mummy stumbling around his tomb. The professor points out that the words strips, as in strips of cloth, and mummy do not appear in the Bible. That's true. And that the Greek word for which is translated as othonia, which has several meanings but is most commonly translated as linens. Point taken, but in my defense, this show is supposed to be funny, believe it or not. So liberties will occasionally be taken to that end, and this was certainly the case here.
How dare you take a liberty with the Shroud of Turin?
I'm just surprised to know that we were supposed to be funny this whole time.
I know. Well,
Shit.
it's never too late.
Feels like the pressure's on.
I think it's too late.
So I'm gonna dodge that first one a little bit. But second, the professor points out that the face covering, or as the King James Version puts it, the napkin, and Jesus' clothes were in separate corners, and not as I said. Not as I said in separate corners of the tomb, but only lying separately. Fair enough, but I think again I can hide behind exaggeration here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Third, I claim that the historical attestation of the first historical attestation of the Shroud was in a letter to the Pope in 1390. It turns out the letter was written in 1389. So yeah,
good.
Got that one wrong.
We're getting pretty hardcore with the corrections here.
Yeah,
It was actually a Tuesday, and Doug said a Wednesday. So.
No. However, it turns out that the Shroud was known about in the region as early as 1355. I could not find this fact in any of my sources, but I did learn it from reading a certain book. So fourth, pardon me. I claim that the Shroud remained in the house of Charney until 1543, but the date was actually 1453. Oops.
Oh my God.
I checked my notes. I had it corrected in my notes. I just read it wrong on air. You got me, Professor.
If you all want to withdraw your patronage, we'll just pull the plug on this thing. That sort of error when reporting on a garbage fraud is just not acceptable.
It's just and it's beneath us.
Yeah.
So fifth,
It's actually wrapped around us.
Exactly.
In the
Fifth,
corner.
I claim that the Poor Clare nuns repaired the Shroud in 1694. The year was actually 1534. Yeah, that's a bad one. That's a big old cock up. In my defense, 160 years in the whole history of the universe is just a rounding error, so it's not that big a deal. So
right?
What's crazy is I went back and checked my source for that, and it was 1534, so I just straight up cocked that one up.
Yeah.
Sixth, at the end of my segment, I stated that the Shroud is in the cathedral built in 1668 by Guarino Guarini, when it actually has been in the chapel of the Cathedral of Turin, where it's been for the last 30 years. So that is true, but in my defense, I didn't, and in order not to bore our listeners, I left a little bit on the editing room floor, and that little fact was one of them. That the Shroud of Turin was in a particular building in Turin and not in this other building in Turin. But point taken. I mean, Jesus, Professor, my segment was 6 pages at 14-point font. Your book is nearly 500 pages. I'm going to leave some stuff out.
If we're going to go over a list of everything you've got wrong, I don't know that we have enough.
I
tape
feel like
on the
we're
reel
gonna
to reel here.
Maybe we should do a totally other podcast. That's just shit.
That follows immediately on this podcast.
It's twice as long.
Yeah.
All right. Seventh and lastly, Sindon does not mean sheet in Italian, as I stated, but it is a Greek word meaning shroud or cloth. This one is a wee bit embarrassing, as all one has to do to clear this up is put Sindon into Google, and all that pops right up. So that was dumb. But I got to say, for being taken to the woodshed by the literal professor of the Shroud of Turin, it could have been worse. I mean, by the standards of my academic history and this show, I feel like I'm in A+ territory right now.
Fully.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know if the professor is still a listener of the show. I would imagine that given the fact that the first episode he listened to was me stomping all over his life's work like a drunken recent divorcee, he may have given up on us. But if you are listening, Professor, I'm sorry, okay? So...
I believe the Italian word you're looking for is mea culpa.
Mea culpa. The second set of corrections, we're not done, comes from a longtime listener we'll call D. I emailed him earlier today to see if I could use his name. I haven't heard back, so let's assume that we can't. He had some corrections and clarifications to which... it was back... Oh, I forgot to mention, we actually met this listener.
I think you're okay to mention his name.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I got to pull it up. Hang on.
Yeah. No, but you go ahead.
I cleaned it out of my notes so I wouldn't accidentally blurt it out. So we met him at the Ark Encounter, or at breakfast before we went to the Ark Encounter in Cincinnati, by the way.
Wow.
At American Atheist. So back in episode 140, I talked about Haitian voodoo, and listener D wrote in with some corrections and clarifications, to which I got to ask, who the fuck do you think you are? What? Are you some kind of expert in this field? Have you worked with Haitians for over 25 years? Are you fluent in Creole? I should really start reading the whole email before shifting into petulant question mode. It turns out that D is all of those things. So, great. Here we go again.
Yeah.
So, we'll save my biggest one for the last, shall we? D first calls out my pronunciation, which I believe I have made very clear is going to be terrible. In the kindest way possible, D states that in all his years of traveling to Haiti, he has never heard anyone mispronounce the word for spirits as badly as me. Basically, I kept pronouncing it Iwa when it's actually Lua. It appears that I kept reading the L as a capital I. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's bad. D also wanted to expand on why voodoo was able to thrive in slave colonies across the Caribbean. This was due to the malleability of voodoo, and that as slave owners tried to impose their religion onto the slaves, they simply took Catholicism and just layered it into their own native beliefs. We did touch on that, but it's certainly a point worth reiterating, so fair enough. D also clarifies some stuff about Papa Doc Devoyer. I mistakenly downplayed Papa Doc's devotion to voodoo. After having a heart attack and not breathing for several minutes, it turns out that Papa Doc went in big for voodoo as he descended into paranoia and delusion. In fact, Papa Doc created his secret police unit, the Tonton Makut, after a voodoo legend of a boogeyman that would come and take you away in a bag. Tonton actually means uncle, and Makut is a bag you throw over your shoulder. This seems like the perfect place to make an uncle joke, but I find it's never prudent to make a joke whose punchline is a murderous paramilitary.
But do go to the Heretique to find your Tonton Magout, whatever
carried
items.
Tonton Magout tote.
Your Tonton Matote.
Your toot matote.
Okay, so I mentioned that voodoo dolls were nothing more than kitsch for tourists, and D corrects me that in all his travels to Haiti, he has never even seen one in a gift shop. So apparently, even as trinkets, it's more of a New Orleans thing than a Haitian one, so fair enough. I talked briefly about Wade Davis and his research into tetrodotoxin, which I described as, quote, widely discredited. D took exception with that and claims that the conclusions of his research are more nuanced than that. D, I'm going to defer to you on that one, brother. We did talk about the myth about Haitian zombies and how they are not real. Well, it's a wee bit more complicated than that. My point was that in the context of the many misconceptions about Haitian voodoo was the one about undead zombies, which is not true. However, there is a phenomenon in Haitian voodoo where through drugging and psychological torture, one can become almost literally a mindless slave to a master. These are not undead, and they can and have been rescued and rehabilitated in the past, but not without lasting damage, as you might imagine. So
you're telling us zombies are real. That's what you're saying to us right now.
Zombies, the way we think about them in the George Romero sense, are not real.
But these are. But so when you did this piece, Doug, I'd read a little bit about actual Haitian zombies, and I didn't say anything because I figured you'd done more research than I have. Of course, that has turned out not to be true. But yeah, it's a thing where through some poisoning and a series of highly engineered traumatic experiences, they fuck these people up so much that they basically can just make them slaves for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and I
sounds fun.
I read up on that, but the tenor of my segment was more about the misconceptions of voodoo.
Right.
So there is when you say zombie, we in the West or whatever have a certain perception of what that is.
Yeah.
So that's not what this is exactly, but it's not that. So that is what it is. And so these kinds of zombies are real, and Dee has even met one. So yeah, crazy, huh? So fair enough. I left that part of it out. I don't hope I didn't get it totally wrong, but I definitely left it out. Lastly, Dee was surprised by my claim that there could be up to 40 million practitioners of voodoo. Now, I did pull that number from a single source, but I was perhaps a bit too credulous. It's also probably not a knowable number because most Haitians living abroad are members of other religions and would probably answer the question with that first.
Okay.
So there are between 9 and 11 million Haitians in Haiti. The vast majority practice voodoo. And while there are significant Haitian populations in the U.S., the Dominican Republic, Cuba, Chile, and Canada, the total number of voodoo practitioners worldwide is surely far less than what I said. So, yeah, that was bad. So,
Boy, you really cocked that one up, Doug.
I did. So there you go. I own my mistakes when I have to and blame them on others when I can. So I also, listen, I want to be called out. If I make mistakes, I should be called out. And Professor Nicolodi and Dee were massive good sports about this. So heretics, listen up. Absolutely send in feedback about whatever subjects we cover that you are either a professor of or have at least 25 years experience in. So that I'm happy to take feedback from the professional class.
Well, I would take a slightly different tack when I say I would just ask anybody who has any professional experience or training in anything not to listen to the show.
Yes,
and I think that way our inbox will be much less cluttered.
Yeah. Well, no, and both you guys were awesome sports, and yeah, I cocked it up a bit. So thank you for the feedback, and I think the record has now been set straight that I am somewhat unintelligent.
Yes, well, in our defense, I would say, look, we're three guys who are not, other than kind of the Mormon sphere, we're not really experts on any of this stuff. But we, it's a hobby, and we can be bothered by religion in our free time. And that's kind of what we do. So we strive for 100%. We hit 50. We're doing pretty good.
That's right.
That's right. And if we allow Doug to continue being on the show, please feel free to write in and tell him any of your issues with anything that he's done.
Yeah.
Or vote me off the island. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, Doug, good job, I guess. Or try to do a good job, I guess would be what I'd say. So thanks for an airing of grievances against yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
All right, let's move on.
Happy Festivus, everybody. Moving on. Gentlemen, listen, we do this show weekly, and then people listen to it, and then some of them love us so much that they send their money to us, and that's how we keep it going. That's how the flow works.
I just don't know what's wrong with people, but fine.
Shush your mouth. This is the time when we pitch that thing.
Oh, right.
That's what we want to encourage.
Are we recording?
Well, some of us are.
I'm not.
Okay, good. So we owe thanks to a few people who have kicked in some coin. So first of all, I want to thank. I really want to thank this person for putting their name in Hebrew, which I don't speak and can't even read, but which Google Translate tells me is Hanan. So I'm going to go with that. If we're pronouncing it wrong, feel free to write into us. That's what I got. And another thanks and a saint that I will be bestowing goes to Mike. I can't tell if his full name is a joke or not, so I won't say his last name because we don't do that. But
Mike, your fucking name is a joke.
Your name's kind of a joke there, Mike. Anyway, Mike, your saint, you get a patron saint, and your saint is Saint Holyoke of Mount Etna. And Saint Holyoke is the patron saint of craggy but cool-looking sticks, of large stringed musical instruments, and of tubers and root vegetables.
Wonderful.
So just an all-around good saint.
Starchy saint.
You've got song and food and another one that I now don't remember.
Wine,
what
women,
I
and
said.
song. It's all
Yeah,
there.
exactly. It's all there. So please enjoy that. We certainly enjoy you and the money that you give us. And listen, the people listening to us need to know that they too can be a part of this holy, wonderful, beautiful thing. And all they have to do is give us money.
Yeah.
So just go. You just go to howtoheretic.com. That's easy to find. You click the support us thing. That's easy to do. You give us some money, and then we say your name and do some stuff with you.
Yeah, and can I tell you about our new function? We have a PayPal if you aren't comfortable with Patreon, and boy, we got some kind donations from some people via our PayPal link. Woo! So that's very cool. Hal, I'm sorry, we love you. That was amazing. Thank you so much. And Jerry, holy smokes. What a generous donation. That's crazy. Thank you.
It's not crazy. You guys can all give more if you want to. It's not crazy to do it. It's fine to give us lots of money.
Yeah. Give till it hurts. Give beyond pain.
Right,
you
exactly.
You want to move through the pain to the other side. Like Batman.
Exactly. Do you want to grow while you're doing this? Well, it's going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's also, if you can't afford that, that's totally fine. You can go to iTunes or wherever and give us 5 stars, and then we'll be very happy with that. And otherwise, just keep listening.
Yeah. Love you.
Moving on.
Love you guys.
Uncle Doug. During this pandemic and all this crap and shit and stupid, what is your drink of choice?
All?
Yeah.
Everything?
Ask me what mine is.
What's yours?
Yes.
I'm trying to think of a way to answer that question, and it probably is just a video of me taking my glass recycling out to the curb.
6 trips.
Like I have to pack the bottles into my glass recycling strategically now, like a Tetris game, because I won't otherwise fit them all in there.
See, this is
I am not healthy.
the wisdom of your older brother. At this point, you give up and you just buy the boxes.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, just buy
It's
the boxes.
it's environmentally fine.
It's good for me. It's good for the earth. It's all good.
Well, until they put Everclear in a box, I'm going to have to buy the bottles.
Now it's happening.
Yikes. Well, listen, guys. Not to be off topic or anything, but I do want to. I wanted to say that just last night I was having a conversation with a dear friend, and the subject of his childhood religion came up. Now, he was raised Catholic in the Chicago area, but that wasn't his religion. It turns out that was his cultural identity. The belief system that he was raised in, the one that was a far bigger part of his family life and than the Pope's little Sunday meetup group, was different.
Oh.
He used the word cult, as a matter of fact, and I agree with that assessment. It has some major hallmarks of a cult: controlling, proselytizing, insistent that their members are weak, defective, even insane, and desperately in need of saving. And guess who, for the longest time, was the only group offering that saving? Now, this is usually where we launch into a 20-minute uninterrupted tirade about the crazy bullshit of a cult, usually culminating in a terrifying body count.
Yes.
That is not where this one is headed.
Hooray!
Wow, something different. Okay.
Yeah, we mix it up sometimes. As a matter of fact, I have to be careful because this cult has actually saved lives. Like hundreds of thousands of lives, possibly millions. So I want to make sure that I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Some of our own listeners owe a big debt of gratitude to this cult for helping them through some really tough stuff, and that's wonderful.
This is a first, this is a first. I don't think we've ever covered a cult. We've covered cults that haven't killed anyone.
Right.
But I don't think we've covered cults that have, quote-unquote, saved anyone physically. Right. Yeah.
But I do want to encourage anyone who has strong positive feelings about this group to keep in mind that even a group that does a lot of good can still be kind of bad. So today we are going to talk about 12-step programs modeled after the famous Alcoholics Anonymous.
This is an audio intervention for me, isn't it?
It's for both of you, really.
Okay.
It's getting scary.
If it's
Usually
an
the
intervention for
interveners
me,
outnumber the intervened.
yeah.
But
If it's
whatever.
an intervention for me, hold on. I just need a drink.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just get this done.
Here's the thing. AA was started with the best of intentions. A group of men, and at that point in 1935, it was all men, got together and tried to help each other with their problematic drinking. This is good and noble. Nobody went into it to get rich or to exert undue influence over others. They just wanted to make each other's lives better. And it kind of worked for some of them. So, great. From a small group in Akron, Ohio, AA grew to be the largest and by far the best-known alcohol use treatment group in the world. How? Mainly by being the only group of its kind for decades. It now has somewhere around 2 million members worldwide and is still going strong. But look.
I'm surprised it's that few.
Yeah, well...
Yeah.
That's just a current membership thing. So some people come in and out. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the more recent numbers are certainly probably going to get higher due to COVID.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Not if I can do anything about it, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Because look, for all the undeniable good that AA has done, and all the good that spin-off groups like Narcotics Anonymous and Gamblers Anonymous and Overeaters Anonymous have done, they are not actually that effective.
Right.
Now, AA may dispute that. Their own foundational text, known internally as the Big Book, claims that 75% of people who go to meetings and really, really try get sober through their system. 50% get sober relatively instantly, and another 25% have some months of struggle but eventually straighten themselves out. 75% is a big number.
That's a crazy success rate for any kind of program.
Yeah. But here's the thing. A very big part of Alcoholics Anonymous is anonymity. Everybody's identity is protected. That has made AA pretty difficult to accurately study. Now, AA claims to have done some study of their process, but not much that's scientifically helpful. That 75% number, they seem to have just pulled that out of their asses. That was a best guess based mainly on adding up all the confirmation bias they could muster and then multiplying by thoughts and prayers. Oh, and it was a number from 1955. Some other groups who study alcohol use have done much more exhaustive research and put AA's recovery number at a little lower than 75%. Any of you want to guess where we're at?
I'd say 10.
Yeah,
Well-
I'd say 15.
Lance Dodds, a retired Harvard psychiatry professor, in his book The Sober Truth, debunking the bad science behind the 12-step programs and the rehab industry, put the number between 5 and 8%.
Wow.
The American Society of Addiction Medicine offers the only slightly less gloomy figure of Mark's 10%. Now, 10% of 2 million is still 200,000. And that's 200,000 folks who have conquered a very difficult problem, and I celebrate that. But yikes.
Yeah.
A lot of people are left out in the cold by AA. And they don't have to be, but we'll get to that. First, I want to talk about what AA is. As I mentioned, Alcoholics Anonymous was founded in the 1930s by Bill Wilson, a self-confessed alcoholic and world record holder for the most people claiming to be his friend.
A little AA humor there for you.
Boom, baby.
Yeah.
After a hospital stay where he was treated for his alcohol use with hallucinogens, he had an epiphany in which he felt the presence of God, which, yeah, you might when you're taking doctor-prescribed belladonna. Definitely
Right.
do not try that at home, kids. Well, when he was released from the hospital, he started meeting up with a bunch of fellow God-believing drunks and found that it was very helpful to talk openly and honestly with each other about their difficulties. AA rose out of those meetings. Pretty much everybody knows about the 12 steps that form the foundation of AA's modality for dealing with substance abuse. It's kind of like the 10 Commandments. We all know that they exist and can even name a couple, but we haven't really read them or given them any thoughts.
I want to start putting the 12 steps on courthouse
right?
grounds.
Right? I mean, that might be better than what's there now. So,
Yeah.
Do you guys know any of the steps? Can you think of any?
Yeah, I know you have to make amends.
There you go.
I think you have to
admit you're powerless in the face of your demon or whatever. You have to acknowledge the big one. You have to acknowledge a higher power.
There you go.
Right.
So, step 9 is the making amends one. I think that one's really good. I'm very fond of that idea.
When are you going to get around to it?
Give me time. Give me time. I'm still on steps 2 and 3 here.
Okay.
I also knew about step 2, which Uncle Mark, that was you're believing in a higher power.
Yeah.
That one I'm less fond of as an atheist. But mind you, anyone who's in a 12-step program will be quick to point out, you can determine what that higher power means.
Right.
So, okay, I've always thought that I could just, gloss over that step 2 and be okay. But here's the thing. Fully half of the steps involve God or whatever higher power you choose. And that higher power can't be you, because so many of those steps are about how you have to have this external powerful help, or none of this is going to work. So let me just go through a few of these steps. Step 2, and these are all worded in a collective past tense, as in we went to the store, which I find odd, but whatever. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him.
Problematic.
Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to other human beings the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. And step 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. Well, holy shit, Bill W., that's just religion right there. There's no science of any kind in any of that. Just straight up magical thinking. And asking a powerful wizard to expecto patronus away our defects isn't the only thing that's religious about Alcoholics Anonymous. AA took another equally stupid and even more damaging lesson from its religious upbringing. Shame. Built into almost every step is a declaration that the member is broken, unworthy, just a piece of shit in need of saving. In just the steps I've already listed, while we were focused on the bullshit emphasis on God, we were also told that we were wrong, defective, full of shortcomings, and even insane. The very first step is for the member to admit that they are powerless over alcohol. This message that someone whose drinking is problematic is now defective is, as it turns out, pretty counterproductive. As a matter of fact, one of the big things that AA requires is an admission that, quote, I'm an alcoholic. Now, on the surface, that seems good, right? Admitting to the problem is definitely a useful step toward recovery. But there's an issue there. I'm an alcoholic isn't actually admitting a problem. It's a declaration of an identity, and there's a big difference. Here's the thing. There are a lot of very different reasons why a person's alcohol consumption might become problematic. Psychological reasons, physiological/genetic reasons, trauma, social, cultural factors, family history, any of these, or a combination of them.
They have a podcast where they read too much about fucked up cults, and it's just twisting their brain.
That one's actually not a good excuse.
I'm spitballing for a friend.
Okay.
Look, Bill's.
Any of these can lead to problem drinking or drug use. But once a person declares that they are an alcoholic rather than a person who drinks problematically, the focus is on the drinking and not on the underlying cause. For years, we've been told that alcoholism is a chronic disease and that a person who is a problem drinker in their 20s must label themselves an alcoholic for life and be ever vigilant against the siren call of drink. Full abstinence for life was the only way out. But the science tells us that that way of thinking might actually be unhelpful. Because here's the thing. People like drinking. And the truth is that they don't want to stop. What they want is for their lives to get better. And they can see that their drinking is very much getting in the way of that. For most, if you ask them whether they'd rather give up alcohol altogether or just tone it down to normal, non-problematic levels, they'd choose the latter. And the newest research says that not only is that possible, it's actually a better, more hopeful model for recovery. The problem with AA's total abstinence modality is that humans don't work in all or nothing extremes. That's just not our reality. We may want to, but we don't. If we did, church would work. The priest would tell us all of what, tell us what all the sins are and everything that's good, and everyone who believed him would just act right from then on. But we know that ain't the case. And the same story applies to AA. An AA member gets chips, for instance, little coins commemorating how long they've gone without a drink. 24 hours, a week, a month, a year, etc. They're praised and rewarded for their abstinence. But if they take one drink in a moment of need or weakness, boom, they're off the wagon, back to square one. That's devastating.
Yeah.
Right.
And when you're staring down the barrel of that level of failure, well, shit. You might as well turn that one drink into a 3-day bender. What the fuck is the difference at that point?
Right.
On the other hand, Doug? Yes?
Oh no, I just grunted out of interest.
Yes.
There's no B's or C's or D's. It's A or F.
Correct.
Right. And so and I think you're completely right. Creating an alcoholic as an identity for yourself, a person with cancer isn't a canceric.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. There's more to you than that. And
right. It's just an issue you're having at the time. And also creating this sense of utter helplessness. This is classic cult. Creating a sense of utter helplessness in the absence of this structure.
Yeah.
It's, most people who have a drinking problem who quit for a period go back, or they maybe they want to be completely abstinent, but they can't always do it. So if you make them just feel utterly fucking despicable for something that is going to happen, that's personality breakdown. It's classic cult bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's a scene in so many movies where the alcoholic is being tested, right? And he gets the drink poured and he stares at it. And it's just, it goes to what you're saying, Uncle Dan, where it's that kind of like, if you cross this Rubicon, there be dragons and ruin. And, if you have that one drink, you will utterly explode your life. That stigmatizes and brings in such levels of guilt and terror and fear that it doesn't seem terribly useful to think that way when we are just beings that make mistakes on a constant basis.
Right.
As I think I've made painfully clear on this episode.
Indeed. Now, on the other hand, if your recovery modality says that one drink here and there isn't a really big deal and allows for the whole thing to be a process, then a person can keep choosing. Maybe this one drink feels like a bit of a setback, but it's okay. I'll just keep it to the one drink and then try to keep improving.
Yeah.
Another issue is that once a person is labeled an alcoholic, their problems are suddenly all organized around their drinking and not the other way around. Now, Dr. Adi Jaffe, who's a UCLA psychologist and author of the book The Abstinence Myth, who's a former addict himself, talked about a client he had who came into him because her drinking had become a huge problem. She had what many would say was a perfect life. She was a lovely sorority girl with a handsome, successful husband and 3 kids. They were wealthy and wanted for nothing. But she had become unable to control herself with alcohol. Now, her marriage was strained, Her friends were worried. She was in trouble. Well, the in the alcoholic identity model that we've all been taught, that had her and everyone around her focused entirely on her drinking as the problem. Dr. Jaffe's approach was the opposite. He started by saying, I don't care how much you drink, let's work on you. Within a few sessions, he asked her, so what are we going to do about your marriage? The problem wasn't that the drinking was straining the marriage. The problem was that the marriage was strained, so she drank. Her recovery began when she started working on the underlying problem. Now, the flip side of the alcoholic as identity problem is that a person who has been sober for years can also continue to ignore their other problems. A person can say, I can't help it that I'm depressed or that I have anger issues or what have you. I'm an alcoholic.
Yep.
And suddenly everyone around them nods and moves on. It's a perfect place to hide if you don't want to work on yourself. And that was what led to my friend's indoctrination into the religion of AA. That friend that I was talking about at the beginning of the segment. He was a kid when he was a kid when he started to go to the meetings. He had never touched a drop. But alcoholism was such a part of his mom's identity that the whole family had to go to meetings.
Wow.
There he was, just in a group of other family members of alcoholics and whatever, which is good. That's support, right? But he was taught that if one family member was an alcoholic, he was probably one too. They spent hours telling him that something was wrong with him and they needed to figure out what it was. That's fucked up.
Super fucked
even
up.
if he's not, and this is what's crazy. He's not sure that his mom ever really had a problem with alcohol. She may have binged a few times in her youth, and because the family had alcohol problems, she flipped out, went to AA, and found a new religion. And that's the thing. AA has trained us all to look at alcoholism in a very specific way. You know that? Did you know that the psychiatric community doesn't really even use the term alcoholism anymore? They don't even talk about alcohol abuse. The current wording is alcohol use disorder, because all that shame and identity stuff is kind of bullshit. It's the use that's disordered, not the person. And the treatment needs to look at why that person is using in a destructive way, not at what's inherently wrong with the user. Back in the 1930s, Alcoholics Anonymous was probably the best chance a person had at getting problematic drinking under control. The odds were still wildly stacked against it actually working, but it was something. But in the better part of a century since its founding, AA hasn't changed its foundational principles at all.
Right.
That, as much as anything, is what shows us that this is a religion rather than a science. And meanwhile, the science is moving forward. There are a lot of different recovery programs popping up all over the world. Some are much more science-based than others. So, there's medicines that are really helping. There are new therapies that have high success rates. And here's the thing. I don't know enough to even be able to recommend one over the other. Everybody's journey is different, and people need to find help that works best for them. And that may even include going to AA meetings.
Yeah.
The support and camaraderie there is real and can be really great. But if you're struggling, just know that AA is not the best recovery the world has to offer.
Well, that's the thing. A 5 to 10% success rate. Not having any of this information in front of me, I'd love to know what so many of the other strategies and resources and programs, what their success rate is, if it's around the same. Because that's
there's a lot of new science that's showing. There are places. There's a place in Finland that was showing like above 50%. I don't remember exactly what it was. There's a lot of places that are showing high percentage rates of recovery.
When I was a fairly young guy living in Hollywood, we used to call it gay A, because a lot of non-drinking gay guys went there to hook up, because there were like whole gay AA meetings, which is kind of hilarious. But I also know it's funny, Dan, because I knew years ago I worked with a guy who was a very accomplished professional in the film business, like a real dude, right? And he was quite a bit older than me, and he was kind of towards the end of his career. And he described himself as an alcoholic, and he hadn't had a drink in probably 35 years. Yet we were out in the middle of nowhere shooting, right? And he had to, if he did not go to a meeting every week, he thought he was going to fall right off that wagon. And so he drove like 3.5 hours to some place every week where there was some tiny meeting in a church basement. And it's like, aside from all the other cult behavior, you have to attend a meeting every week, which sounds pretty churchy to me.
Right. And look, if it's helping him, more power to you. I'm not here to shit on things that work for people. But the problem is that AA is the only thing that most people know. Like, it's the only thing that comes immediately to people's minds. And it's like kind of one of the worst options that we have. It can still help. But
I think
if we do a little bit of research.
When you're in the throes of severe, drinking, you kind of, any lifeline is necessary, right? And if people need to get to an AA meeting to kind of acknowledge that they've got an issue and find support from people, then, go.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, Dan. I think it's very frustrating that the first two tenets, the first two steps of the 12-step are basically disempowering.
Yeah.
Because
and then a bunch of God.
We're here we are, three atheist podcasters. If you accomplish something, whether it's getting off of alcohol or getting your drinking under control or climbing Everest, you did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it should be empowering. It should be focused on the self and not saying, you're powerless and there's a higher power you need to appeal to.
Yeah,
I find it very frustrating.
Your weakness will follow you through the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Just like Mark was talking about with that guy that you were working with. Literally, the concept is you're never going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be the case. And most of the new science says that doesn't have to be the case.
You broke your life the first time you took a drink, and you can never fix it.
Right.
You just have to live broken.
It's an original sin situation.
It's an original sin situation. And something that is also very problematic about AA that you didn't cover here because you covered plenty, but that a lot of times it is court-ordered in America.
Exactly. That's 100% true. As a matter of fact, a very high, I think over 50% of people who attend AA are there compulsorily.
Yeah, that is the government forcing you into, and I wouldn't even call this quasi-religious. It is a religious institution.
Yeah.
And you touched a little bit on Bill and the foundations of it and his, having a spiritual experience on psychedelics. But there's a ton of spiritualism embedded in the foundation of this.
Well,
right?
yeah. I mean, even I think the final step mentions the word spiritual.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, you guys. This is not. Like I said, I can't say it enough. This has helped lots of people.
Yes.
But there's so much more help out there, and people need to know that there's more help and that there's better help. And that there's more effective stuff. There are new drugs that are coming out that I was reading about naloxone, I think is what it's called, and it's what's interesting is that it's an opiate inhibitor preventer.
Yeah, the cops in Vancouver carry it. Yeah,
but what's nice about it is that apparently the endorphins that you get from alcohol, which is what makes you feel so good, are opiates, and so when you inhibit those receptors, you don't want to drink again.
Oh,
you don't need it anymore.
You're saying that they respond like they're responding to opiates, that they aren't opiates, but
right. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of good science out there. More comes in every single day, and look, so many of us have worked so hard to get out of magical thinking and into reality-based life.
Yeah.
So it seems crazy to let a difficulty with drug or alcohol use drag you back into the religious muck.
Yeah.
Look, everybody out there, you're a good person. You're enough. Get the help you need to do the work and do the work you need to do and find a healthier, happier life.
Yeah, and I would say if it works for you, then you should stick with it, but you should also explore other things because if it really has a 5 to 10% success rate, That is a function of something some very desperate men who were not scientists came up with in 1935 after one of them had a hallucinatory experience, and their program hasn't changed since.
Yeah.
That's what I
Right?
find the
That's
most frustrating is because it's everyone knows what it is. We all are aware of it. We even know what it's like to be in an AA meeting without having gone to one.
It's so ubiquitous in culture.
It's so
and
ubiquitous.
media. And
But guys, nothing that was founded in 1930 should exist today unaltered or unimproved upon.
Right?
Right? Fucking fix it, man.
Maybe a pickle recipe can last that long.
I feel like you're taking a direct shot at Mr. Hitler, and I don't care for that. Yeah.
Fucking
yes,
fix it, guys.
Look
Update
to the
this shit.
science.
Yeah.
They're
Look to the
learning new
science.
stuff every day. Find something with a proven track record that doesn't tell you that you're a broken, powerless person, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, that's what marriage is for. All right,
Yeah.
go with that. Bottoms up.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Well, friends, that is it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. If you have some steps that you'd like to take, send us an email at howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if you were one of the princes of hell and we forgot to mention your name, that's on us. But please leave us a voicemail about it at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986. You can also condemn me to eternal hellfire on Twitter like everybody else does, at HowToHeretic.
And as always, a giant grateful shout out to our patrons.
And thank you to our Lord of the Flies, Cody Layton, for editing the show.
And thanks to all of you guys for tuning in.
Bye, friends.